mistakes and handing out papers and stuff. I don't need that. All right, so when you look at 5.6, it looks very much like what we were practicing before. So let's draw the triangle, PQR, and this is 58, this is 10, this is 13, and then our job is to find angle Q, angle R, and side P. Solving the triangle. Okay? Now, tell me about this.
There's no pair.
There's no pair. You know what he's talking about when he says there's no pair? I don't have that, I don't have that, and I don't have that. Remember, if we're going to do the law of signs, we have to have both P's, or both Q's, or both R's. That is an absolute must. If you have a pair, do the law of signs. 100%. Always do the law of signs. But if you don't have a pair, then you're going to have to rely on the law of cosines. Okay? Now, I'm going to write down your first step to this problem. Your initial feeling is going to be, ah! But it's easy. You'll figure it out in a matter of minutes. Here's what the law of cosines is going to look like in this situation. All right, there it is. All right, so go ahead and just write that down, and then let's talk about what happened. Because I guarantee you that Mrs. Ford does not have all the letters memorized. There's a pattern here, and that's what I want you to memorize, okay? The pattern that you see. All right, so everybody have it written down? Okay, notice that I've only used one angle, and that was this angle right here. And that was angle P. Notice that over here, all by itself, is P squared. So P, the P's, kind of bookend the problem. I have side squared here, and I have cosine angle out here. That will always be the case. Okay? So if you were putting 10 squared here, which we're not, so don't write this down, just look up here. If you were putting 10 squared out here, then at the end would have to be cosine R, because the angle and the side bookend the problem. So that's side R, so I would have to have angle R out there. Okay, now what's the stuff in the middle? Well, P was the side I didn't know. So what's this? These are the two sides that I do know, and they're squared. So 10 squared plus 13 squared in either order. And then minus 2, the 2 is part of the formula. You're always going to have a 2 times those two sides. That's it, kids. It's that easy. We're going to practice some more. But that's basically it for the law of cosines. So we've got our P's bookending the problem, P squared and cosine P, and then we have our other two sides. R squared plus Q squared minus 2 times R times Q times cosine. All right, type it in. Ooh, you're gonna have to help me. I didn't do it with my calculator. Don't help me. Type it in. And type it in just the way I wrote it. Please, don't be getting funky. Just type 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 10 times 13 times cosine 58. These are so easy to type in. Type
131.22.
What'd you get?
131.22.
131. Now remember though, what's the 131? No, the 131 is
P squared.
P squared. So what do we have to do then to get plane P? Square root that number. So take the square root of that number. Where have you been, Kishad?
I was
Huh? You were what?
eating.
Eating? Okay, well, 40-minute lunch is not acceptable. And so, there'll be infractions and such. Okay, Xavier was only 2 minutes late. Okay, did you square root? What did you come up with for P?
11.46.
I heard 11.45 and 11.46.
11.45.
45?
No, it's 4.55, so it'd be 4.6.
So it's 455, so we'll make it 456.
445.
It's 445?
No, I got 4.55.
455? Alright, give me a calculator. So 10 squared plus 13 squared minus 2 times 10 times 13 times cosine 58 square rooted 11.455. Okay, you guys, I'm not sure, those of you that got something different, when you square root, you need to square root your answer. Don't type in some rounded off decimal. You have to square root your answer. So down at the bottom, you have an answer button right here above the negative sign. So after you type it all in and you got your 131, just hit, then you just hit second square root, second answer. And it will take the square root of that number without rounding it off. Okay? Now, why am I worried about that little tiny bit of round off error? Well, is this what I said it was?
Yeah.
I'm worried about that little tiny bit of round off error because now that I have found that side, now what do I have, you guys? Now I have a pair. So to finish the problem, now I can do my law of sines. So what will that look like then for the second part of the problem? Sine.
Sine 58 over 11.46.
Equals sine, I don't care what, r over 10. I could do q over 13, it doesn't matter, I do one of them. So we'll cross multiply 11.46 sine r equals 10 sine 58. Now these are like the ones we were doing a little bit ago. This is your variable, right? So you're going to divide by 11.46. And then, because you're looking for an angle, you're actually typing what? Second sign. Okay?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you get?
47.73.
47.73, and that was R. And then, once you know R, you got 58 and 47. Can't you find Q real easily?
Yes.
So add these up and subtract from 180 and tell me what Q is.
7.
What is it?
I got 74.27.
74.27?
Yeah.
I love that problem because we needed to use both the law of cosines and the law of sines to do it. I know you're still a little shaky about that law of cosines. So we're going to do another one, don't worry. You okay? Ready to move on? Okay, I'm gonna come back to B. I'm gonna do C next. So we're gonna do C, problem C next. Okie dokie. All right, now we're gonna set up our law of cosines. First of all, this on test day, this will just, all these problems will be mixed up. So you won't know to use the law of cosines. You'll have to figure that out. Can you figure out that you're gonna need the law of cosines because you don't have a pair? Okay, when you don't have a pair, it's law of cosines. Okay? Now, what's the angle you know? The angle you know is 104. So in the law of cosines, you're gonna have cosine 104 out here on that end. Clear back here at the beginning of the equation, if you're putting angle E out there at the end, what's gonna go right here? E squared. And then everything in the middle here is a combination of 12 and 16. So it's gonna be 12 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 12 times 16. I'm gonna write the law of cosines up here for those of you that just feel like you have to have something to memorize. The problem is letters don't match. Okay? So it's really better that you not memorize that. That is the law of cosines. It's really better that you memorize the pattern. So see how I have A and A on each end? And then everything in the middle, B squared plus C squared minus 2BC. So side squared plus side squared minus 2 side. All right, type it in, square root it. Let's get it right this time, everybody. $22.20. Jeanette, got it? Everybody get 22.20? Are you typing, Keyshawn? Okay, where's your calculator? Okay, type it in, honey. You gotta be able to type it in. And when you get all this typed in, just in a long row, just boom, 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 it equals and then square root it. And 22.20 is sine E. Now, what's amazingly cool about now having side E? Now we can do the law of sines. And what will that look like? The law of sines. Sine 104 over 22.20 equals sine F over 12. Now, Abby chose to do sine F over 12. Somebody else might do sine D over 16. Cross multiply. What will I be dividing by? I'm dividing by 22.20. So F is going to be the angle whose sine is 12 sine 104 divided by 22.20.
31.63.
Jacob says, what'd you say, 31?
0.63.
0.63? Anybody match that?
Yeah. Yep, he's right.
He's right, good deal. So if angle F is 31 and angle E is 104, then angle D must be what is it? 44.37. And we got that one by just subtracting from 180. Everybody okay? We love our law signs and cosines, for sure. All right, we're gonna do one more problem. We're gonna do letter B. And then I'll be done. I'll shut up. I'm gonna do letter B. because what do we not have?
Angles.
We don't have any angle. Because we don't have any angle, there is no way we're gonna be able to use the law of sines. Would everybody agree with that? Because to use the law of sines, you have to have a pair. And to have a pair, you gotta have an angle. Alright, so this is definitely gonna be a cosine problem. Good news, there's no law of tangents that you need to worry about, okay? Every triangle is gonna be either law of sines or law of cosines, okay? Now, which angle on here, I could find any of them, but I'm just gonna test you a little bit. Which angle is the biggest in this
B.
triangle? Which one's the biggest?
B,
B? Why is B the biggest angle?
biggest side.
Because it's across from the biggest side. It's called the hinge theorem in geometry. The bigger the angle, the bigger the side. Okay? So let's just, for fun, we could find any of them, but let's find B. All right, we're gonna find B. If we decide we're gonna find B, then out here on the end is gonna be cosine B. And then what will be over here on this end of the problem? 14 squared. Because remember, whatever angle you're using, that angle on that side bookend the problem. If you decided to find angle A, then this would be cosine A, and this would be 12 squared, right? Okay, now everything in the middle is that combination of 10 and 12, the other two sides. So 10 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 10 times 12. Now, I know it's day one, I know you're just writing things down, but is it starting to register how this law of cosines works?
Yep.
That's, you gotta be able to do this, okay? Now, typing this one in is harder. You have to be careful. So here's what I'm gonna ask you to do. I'm gonna ask you to do this squaring. Is 14 squared 196?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And this squaring, make that 100. You can use your calculator. You have a calculator for everything, so you can use it. 144. Now, these three numbers, 2 times 10 times 12, are times together. So that's going to be 240. Cosine B. So all I've done, this one is, after you practice a few times, maybe you'll be able to type it all in. But this one's really hard to do all at once. So I want you to kind of break it up here at the beginning. Just kind of figure out what all these numbers are. Can these two be added together? In other words, can I make this a 244? All right, so these two I added together because it says 100 plus 144. You all right with that? Now, this is what you can't do. You cannot subtract 244 minus 240. Because this one isn't hooked to a cosine, and this one is. These are not like terms. Don't subtract them. So what are we gonna do? We have to solve that equation. What would you suggest we do?
Divide.
Nope, we're not gonna divide. We're gonna move the 244 to the other side. So what will we do to move it? Minus it, we're gonna subtract it. We have 196 equals 244 minus 240b. So we're gonna subtract the 244. You have a calculator, so you don't need to worry about this. So where does that negative what? 48 equals negative 240b. Now what? Divide 240, so 48 over 240 equals, oh, that should be cosine B. Where'd that come from? You guys, don't let me get crazy. No, that's a cosine B. I have to carry that along. That's a cosine B. All right, so 48 over 240 equals cosine B. Wait a second, though. Aren't we looking for an angle?
Second.
We're gonna have to second. So B is going to be second cosine 48 over 240. Second cosine 48 over 240. And what is the measure of angle B? 78.46, she says. Do I have an agreement from someone? Okay. Now, if that was so much fun, you can do it again. Pick a different angle and do it again if you like that. But if you don't care for that, now we can do our law of sines. So whichever flips your switch, that's what you can do. I'm gonna go ahead and set the law of sines, because for me, that's usually faster. But it doesn't matter. If I do that, if I say sine 78.46 over 14, what am I setting that equal to? Either sine A over 12 or sine C over 10? All right, got 3 minutes. Can you get that typed in and give me an answer? I'm so out of room here. So I'm getting sine C equals 10 sine 78.46. Anybody find angle C yet?
Yes.
44.41. Now, some of you may have found angle A. Now, once we figured out B and C, then we can find A. And A is 57.13.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do 3. 6 and 1 and 3 down. Wow, what fun is that? Tomorrow we will practice the law of sines and move ahead a little bit and find some order in that tomorrow also. Okay? Good deal.